When you're writing your stories and there's certain information you really need to get across, think if I just cut corners and just get it out really quickly, the readers won't notice. Well, stop. They will. They'll find those sections very boring and you need to fix them. And yes, you can get the same information you need to advance the plot, but we're going to do that in a way that the readers are going to love. Here's a bad example. The phone rang 3 times before someone answered. Yeah? The man said plainly. John said, "Are you Mark? This is Detective John Thompson. I need access to the County 12 property for an inspection." The man said, "County 12? Okay, let me check. Where did you get this number, sir?" "It was on the permit paperwork," John replied. The man replied quickly, "Gate code's 5813. Lift the hatch when you push, it sticks." John responded eagerly, "That was easy." The man said, "Sure, no problem. Have a nice day." John hung up and went out to his car to go for the inspection. Yep, that is terrible. Now, let's imagine this is your story, and of course, you're going to forgive yourself. But is this the best that you can do? And my view is that we can improve on it and we're going to make it better. Yes, we're advancing the plot here, but are we really adding in the character and mood details that we could to really flesh it out? That's what we need to do. So I'm going to start adding in some personality and also build in some tension here. I think we can add some conflict to this piece when there wasn't any to actually raise the stakes and make it more interesting. With a rigid finger, bracing for another delay. Let's start ramping up the conflict. On the 5th ring, just as you're about to hang up, a gruff voice answered, "Yeah?" Sometimes when you talk to someone on the phone or you haven't met yet and you hear their voice and you automatically picture who they might be. Now let's use our imagination and flesh out who this other person on the line is. John, picture a man slouched at a desk, scratching his belly, suspenders undone. Now, even though it's not necessarily the best line, this is a line, let's say, you absolutely need to move the plot on. I'm going to add it as a more guarding question to get John's back as a detective. He's someone that is probably dealing with a lot of shady characters, so he's already going to be naturally suspicious. And I think it's fine we keep this line. It was on the permit paperwork. Now, let's add in some mystery here and possibly even some misdirection. Silence stretched. John thought he heard faint whispers, like the man was talking to someone else. But before the voice came back louder. Gate code's 5813. Lift the latch when you push, it sticks. So now let's lower some of the tension and use similar lines from the past, but I'm only doing that because now I'm going to add the tension after. So the difference, I'm creating a greater contrast to make it seem more tense. And let's bring a tiny bit more of that other character, the one I imagined. The man sniffed. "You ain't the first to ask." And there might be an interesting opportunity here to build in a later subplot. When you make these changes to boring sections, oftentimes you find that actually might improve your plot downstream. The reader won't know who's bad or good, and they're going to have to really focus on your writing to find out. Get rid of that boring, he went to the car and went for his inspection. Let's take a kind of interrupted dialogue. Now let's increase the pacing here. The line went dead. And let's make it a little bit more meaningful here and impactful. He wasn't the only one. So what I like about this new version is that we're adding tension when there wasn't. We're adding it and using a bit of conflict, even if it's just an everyday conversation. And there's some really key things that we did here. We added more sensory details. We started showing John's internal reactions. We're implying mood and tension. We're using a little bit of metaphor and imagery, like the man slouched at the desk. We're adding some subtext and even some misdirection and mystery to this little small section, when in the past it was just a run-of-the-mill, I need information, here's the information, let's move on. Now it might add an interesting layer for the readers they're reading, and they can start then debating whether this is an important section or not. They won't know until they read on in the story. Oftentimes when you do a lot of generic writing, you can throw in any character as you go to help advance plot, like a non-player character in a game. But you'll find that those don't add to the mood or the tension. And I think it actually hurts your writing and it hurts your story to throw in throwaway people that could be anyone. But when you start adding depth and layers and even arcs to some of these side characters, your readers are going to love your stories. Those boring parts of your novel, you're going to have to fix. There's a lot of ways you can do it, and I've only touched on some of them. There's a lot of room for future videos because I think this is a very rich, exciting topic. And if you happen to like these videos, click like and subscribe. Happy writing.